And everything's looking like it's working. Maybe. Can you say something? Oh, wait, nope, I can't hear you. Everything almost looked like it was working. It was so close.
Nope, I just forgot to turn my mic.
Okay,
There we go.
Yay! A miracle. Everything seems to be working. Oh my goodness. New Twitch studio stuff and trying to figure things out and organize scenes and good times. First, sorry, go ahead.
My OBS is an absolute mess.
That's why I switched.
This worked, and then this worked, and then this worked, and like, oh god.
For some reason, my camera zoom is different on if I use the webcam on Twitch and on Discord. That's interesting. Okay, everything almost worked. This is my great success. So first, I want to thank you so much for meeting. Yeah. I really appreciate this. My camera is reversed. I asked about this last. How do I fix that?
Is it?
Oh, I know why it is.
Yeah.
Okay, I know why that is. It's because I'm doing a screenshot of Discord, which is reversing it for me. I think. Shoot, give me 1 second. Back to the BRB screen, and now I think there's a way to not reverse it. Yours is. Oh yeah.
So this works with me.
How do I don't know that I can fix that.
What are you using? Is it OBS?
No? It's the video through Discord, so I'm just screenshotting our Discord conversation. But it reverses it so that I see myself.
Right. There's a way to flip it. Like if you right click on the source, I think.
Right click on the source. Not there. In the settings?
Yeah.
This is the thing that I meant to. I thought I fixed in the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Test video. Nope. Not there. Welp. R.I.P. R.I.P. that, I guess. You know what? It's fine. Everything's fine. It'll be fine. Okay, back to this.
I know there's a way to do it, but I don't want to break mine. It's a fragile setup.
Yeah, nope, same. Yeah, nope, I agree. I don't want to break anything else trying to fix the backward screen. So everything's just going to be backwards for now. We're going to pretend it's fine. Yay, technology.
We're in backwards land.
It's fine. Yeah, so I brought you on. One of my, just the thing I've been kind of obsessed with, and I'm going to use that word purposefully here because I think it applies to this, is just parasocial relationships and their dynamics and the ethics of them and just all of the things that go wrong with them. But also how they're kind of necessary in the internet age and content creation. And so my mind has been stuck on this, and I've started grad school application essays, sample essays on TikTok culture and the relationships between creators and their viewers and audience, and how they influence each other, and in both negative and positive ways, and especially with in regards to the age of consent on these apps, which is usually fairly young. For Twitch and TikTok, I think it's 13, probably YouTube as well.
Assuming people are honest about their age.
Assuming people are even honest about their age, yeah, exactly. So probably younger as well. But even at 13, there's a lot of issues with that. So I think the first thing that I wanted to do was, for the audience and everybody around, is just kind of defining a parasocial relationship. For this conversation, I'm focusing more on content creators and parasocial relationships, as opposed to celebrities who have their own kind of version of this. But it is a little bit different, I think, in a lot of ways. So first is just parasocial relationships in this manner are um, relationships with these content creators or content creators with their followers in which they feel they are closer than really they are, and that's kind of necessary in some ways. But a lot of people, they'll go into Twitch channels or YouTube channels and comment, and they feel like, you know, Jack's Film is their friend. They want to talk to Jack's Film as if they are a friend, or Smosh or whoever you're watching, and that's fine on a surface level. People like to be interacted with in both directions. And so that's kind of the parasocial nature. And content creators can have it with other content creators. I think this is one that is fairly often overlooked because they often appear to have similar levels of power dynamics, but that isn't necessarily the case. So I think that's where I kind of wanted to start, is just like that basic definition. I have notes because my ADD, I will forget things. So that's the definition I wanted to start with. If you have anything to add to that, or would you like to say something?
So I poked a little bit at the literature to have something psychological to contribute. And it seems like a broader way to look at parasocial relationships is like, God, was like intrasocial, I think, is where, you know, like your friends or your family or whatever, where it's an even amount of exchange and knowledge and stuff. And then parasocial, it's sort of the information's one way, where you have the content creator or celebrity or whatever, and their information's going down to the consumers and the fans and the viewers. And for the most part, the viewer information doesn't really go back up to the content creator. So it's just all being one way. So that's, I mean, it's roughly the same thing as what you said, just a slightly different way to contextualize what's going on. So
They're talking to me, but they're
yeah.
not.
Yeah.
Well, they kind of are. They're just talking to everybody else as well. So.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the next thing, I have the list here, so just to help my mind keep track, is kind of, I guess what that we kind of just covered, that is what they look like from the creator's perspective, is that often, yeah, they're just giving their thing. They want to create, usually, and are interacting with the audience, but it is usually one-sided. So from their perspective, they're entertaining or providing information or whatever they feel that their role in that situation is, one way to the audience, with slightly nuanced because of things like Discord and comment sections.
Right.
But that's still usually extremely filtered. So there's a lot more interaction from the viewer base towards the creator than there is the creator towards the viewer base. Or at least I would hope, or because otherwise the creator has no time,
Right,
especially
yeah.
popular ones. And then from the viewer's perspective, or the audience's perspective, typically this is, I think most people understand that this is largely that this is largely one-sided. They're glad if they get, or they're really happy if they get a response back, but they're not necessarily expecting one. They know that that this person isn't really someone that they can typically interact with. They're getting the entertainment because that's what they're looking for. But from the viewer's perspective, it can seem, especially depending on how the content creators frame themselves, as if they are much more their friends than they actually are. I think this is more typical of like Twitch streamers, who do have a lot of audience engagement, and so it can seem like those boundaries get crossed a lot easier, especially depending on how they what verbiage they use in interacting with their audience. If they call them friends, or even like pet names, like calling sweetie or love or whatever, thanking individual users when they like super chat or donate, those can all look like they're actually engaging with that member, even if it's very brief and very targeted. It doesn't extend past that one instance necessarily.
Yeah. Well, the interesting thing for that, for me, and I hardly ever engage or use Twitch, so I don't know what the back end creator sort of vibe is, but like with YouTube, on the little splash page for the studio manager, there'll be like friendly little tips of like how to boost your retention and audience interaction. And it's like, make sure you thank your super chats by name, and like, just all these little algorithmically engineered ways to boost engagement and blah blah blah. Like it feels gross that
Yeah.
it's so like, you need to do this to boost your brand and boost your channel, and it'll make the person feel special and want them, or make them want to tip you more, give you more emojis. Like, it just like, can we just do this naturally? Like,
Yeah.
if I want to thank somebody, just I'm going to thank them and not have it be in the back of my mind like, oh, I need to do this, part of my job. But I don't know. It Yeah, it almost like feels sort of like, and this is going to a very far extreme, like exotic dancing,
Yeah.
like
Yeah.
stripping, getting tips, and like, oh, thank you.
Yeah. I would say that that's the maybe not
Self-esteem
original.
sex work.
Yeah. No. Yeah. But sure, like to make the most amount of money if you're in working at a strip club or even burlesque or any of these things, where there's a lot of audience interaction. You To make the most amount of money, you want to make the people who are giving you the most amount of money as special as you can make them, because then they'll just keep giving you more money.
Mm-hmm.
They feel like there's a relationship there.
And parasocial relationships happen like crazy there too.
Mhm.
Somebody falls in love with their dancer.
Yes, I think the uh, yeah.
Marry me. Like, no, sweetie,
No,
no.
dude, this is a one-sided thing. I know.
This is my job.
Yeah. Waiters do the same thing,
Mm-hmm.
to a lesser. I don't want to say to a lesser extent, to a
It's less intimate.
yes, less intimate extent. Yeah, but you want to make the guests feel welcome, and you're their friend for the next half an hour. You're not really, but you're gonna play the part.
Yeah.
And then sometimes people will go back and be like, I want that waiter, they're my friend. And like they're not. They're really not. They'll be friendly every time you go in, sure, but
Yeah.
but that kind of brings me to the next thing, which is absolutely it does feel like gross with the way that Twitch and YouTube incentivize.
Mm-hmm.
I would say like taking advantage of parasocial relationships,
Absolutely.
arguably, but that they can be healthy. One, they're necessary for content creators to even make their content.
Mm-hmm.
But I think, as you were saying, there's ways to do that where it is more healthy. Where like, yeah, you'll thank someone if like it's appropriate, or like in specific ways where like you're not going out of your way to necessarily make someone feel like they're the reason you're doing this. I think that's where it gets kind of maybe dangerous.
Yeah. Or just playing into sort of like, oh, thank you, you're my best friend. Oh,
Yes.
and it, no,
Are
like
they?
there is a level here. Although some content creators, I think, lean harder into that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I think
that.
somebody who's probably safe to talk about is Onision.
Yeah.
Because, all the tiered access to him that he's built into whatever platform's able to fund him at this point, since he's been kicked off of so many.
Yeah, roughly all of them, except for little niche ones.
I think he's still got OnlyFans.
Great. Great. The one that might encourage parasocials even harder than the others. That's fine.
Yeah.
I mean, this will come up, I think, later as well, for what this kind of looks like in the unhealthy parasocial relationships.
Mm-hmm.
They're happening
Constant.
all, yeah. Onision's a huge one, but Twitch just sends out mass bans all the time, like monthly at this point, for all of the
Yeah.
people getting in trouble for their uh, well, interactions with their audience. And uh, the biggest,
Loophole.
yeah, um, the biggest ones that I can think of, not of content creators, I won't call anyone out yet, uh, are, well, okay, except for Anision, because he does fit into this as well, are specifically, going back to the age thing, the ones who are grooming their younger
Yes.
fans,
Yeah.
because they're so impressionable.
Yeah.
If you're a successful content creator and you're telling a 13-year-old that you're doing this for them, that is uh, incredibly damaging, it seems like.
Yeah. Or even younger.
Or even younger, yeah, because they're not all even 13, of course. For
Well,
the
I'm
sake
also
of
thinking
TOS.
about, yeah, also thinking about like all the YouTube child channels where it's
Hmm.
just like, oh my gosh, guys, Among Us is like gonna kill us or whatever, and you gotta like this video. You gotta like this
Oh
video
no.
and tell your mom to hit our merch store. Like, oh,
Yeah, we need to
no, no,
sell
no.
50 t-shirts. You gotta buy one. Yeah. And then
We're gonna die.
special access at VidCon if you do.
Yeah.
It's uh, some good stuff. Some terrible stuff is what I mean by good there. Good was sarcastic.
Good.
Yes. Uh, and there's always new stuff that comes up. And one of the parasocials that seems like, which is kind of combating, um, and I have mixed feelings about, are the newest wave of bans were those ASMR streamers,
Right.
who were doing, um, what I think one of them was like licking the microphone for
Hmm.
donations. I
Hmm.
uh, and on the one hand, I really don't want to shame sex work. Um, and if their channel is labeled adult only or like 18 plus,
Hmm.
there are very minimal safeguards in place for those things. But still, there's you have to at least acknowledge that you're 18 or over to get to them. Uh, I don't know that that's the issue that I have necessarily, but they do seem to, these types of channels especially, prey on those parasocial relationships and really play up um, those dynamics for their audience.
Hmm.
And I guess, yeah, I want to know what you think on those dynamics, I guess.
And it's tricky and it's complicated, and yeah, I'm not sure exactly how I feel on it because it is like they're doing a niche type of ASMR, I guess. Uh, and they are responding to people who are giving them tips or like writing names on their body or whatever for people who tip them. And like it seems like an extension of just thanks for the tip. Here's an incentive for tipping. Um, and I imagine the majority of people who do tip on things like that or even take it into the real world and visit like strip clubs, like the majority know that it's a one-way thing. They're getting enjoyment out of it. You know, they could be doing this, they could be going to a casino, like they just want to spend some money, may as well be on somebody who's attractive to them. Um, so like there's that, but then there's also the portion that, this is sort of the only engagement that they're getting with people, and it's sort of like a replacement for intimacy. And it is sad, I think, for them that, this is something that maybe they could have in real life and get an actual physical, emotional connection with somebody. But for whatever reason, they're not. And actually, I read one thing that was suggesting that parasocial relationships can actually be sort of practice for people who have like low self-esteem or low social skills. They can sort of practice in this mostly one-way interaction and then take that and apply it to the real world. So
Okay.
maybe there is something good that could come out of this where, they get comfortable flirting and see it's positively responded to and then apply it with somebody that they fancy in real life. Um, so maybe there's a good that can come from that, but there certainly is the risk of somebody becoming like a big spender, thinking that whatever streamer's just so into them and whatever, slide into their DMs and then maybe get rejected, maybe get strung along. It's kind of on the ethics of the streamer, I think, at that point. I don't know if Twitch, like capitalism, so I could see them not necessarily wanting to crack down on people who are just throwing crazy amounts of money at somebody.
Right. They get half,
Um,
or roughly half,
uh-huh.
or more.
um, so yeah, but it also like how would you necessarily catch somebody who is being taken advantage of, I guess. Um, yeah, because it's like somebody may just have thousands of dollars budgeted for this type of entertainment, whereas somebody else, that might be putting them in a hardship situation. So,
Uh, yes. Yeah, yeah, I think there's definitely hard lines and then a bunch of gray lines. Hard lines being grooming. Like that's
oh yeah,
pretty easy assuming ages are properly like
right.
given. Um, it's pretty easy to see when a content creator is specifically talking to someone who's underage. Um,
Hmm.
in some of these mediums where they do chit like, okay, are you over 13 but under 18? Like as long as if that box is checked,
Yeah.
then you can see those things kind of happen. Um, gamer was bygone or bygone gamer, I think. Dr. Mr. Husband, is the internet required for parasocial relationships, or was there a time method this occurred in history? I think we or is it detrimental to society if done responsibly? Um, i.e., even if regulated effectively. I think we kind of answered this with the like strip club exotic dancer
Yeah.
dynamic. So definitely happened before the internet,
Oh yeah.
um, and even
I
with
think
like celebrities. Sorry.
yeah, the scale is
Mm.
different now. So in ye olden times, like there may have been a parasocial relationship with like the little villages, like priest,
Mm-hmm.
maybe, where just, he's so smart and he talks to us every week and I can tell him anything in confessional. And, I really feel like he's my friend, even though it's just his job. Uh, or potentially people making do with other situations, um, sex work.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, like I imagine, as long as there's been people, there's probably been some form of parasocial relationship. But just now with the internet and, movies certainly was a big step up
Mm-hmm.
from, novelists or musicians or whoever else may have gotten some wider attention. But now it's just like there's the celebrities, there's the international celebrities, there's TikTokers with millions of followers.
Yeah,
Like
they're
just
coming up later. Yeah.
the scale is so large now. So the reach is bigger, but I imagine, it's always been a thing.
Yeah, I'm not sure what is meant by is it detrimental to society if done responsibly, i.e., even if regulated effectively. I'm not sure how to regulate it. Other than things that are already kind of regulated for. Uh, the internet makes it harder to regulate some things because of anonymity and difficulty to verify things like ages or power imbalances or even wealth disparities, or is that person donating the thousands of dollars that they have budgeted and that's fine, or are they going into debt to like throw money at this person who they think is their friend? These are all like, I don't even know how you would know necessarily without it already being a huge negative effect by the time it's possible to determine.
Yeah, I mean, maybe gamers talking about video games with like the mobile games where you've got, the majority of the money coming from whales who are like mega spenders, and if there's an equivalent in the parasocial online space, I don't, there might be, where just some people are mega spenders and willing to spend mega money
Yeah.
in a similar way.
Yeah, I definitely see that with like on Twitch, especially with gifted subs. Like sometimes you'll just see people plop down 100 gifted subs. And you're like, I think that's all the creator's waiting for, is just someone to plop down however many gifted subs. They know a vast majority of their audience probably can't afford a monthly subscription, but there's going to be one or two in there that can just fund everybody or a lot of them. I this happened earlier today for me. I was watching a Twitch channel and got a notification that I was gifted a sub in someone I've never watched before by someone I've never heard of before, and I clicked on it and I was like, I've never been here. Thank you, I guess. I don't know. And it had fewer it had fewer viewers than even the amount of subs that were gifted. So like, I think there were like 60 people in there at the time reviewing, and whoever gifted subs gifted 100. So I don't know how they determined where those subs went, or like why I even got one. It was no idea.
Which is just
it's
unknowable
magic.
to me.
Magic. So you brought up TikTok, and this was like, and I'll probably go back to it, but I had to take a mental break. But this was my focus for a while, and while I was looking at this, because I think it's a place where it's easy to see these relationships, because you can see who's interacted with that video and in which ways. So one of the biggest or most prominent forms of, I think, parasocial relationships on TikTok, and there's two that I think I want to talk about, are the duets, which is you just, they don't have to consent to it. You just take someone's video and then you're with them all of a sudden. And it's this portrayed friendship or collaboration that's not real, usually. And anybody can do it. You can just duet someone's thing and take their stuff and alter it in whatever way. And so that's I think one of the biggest things. And YouTube kind of has that with like commentary and like fair use, where you can alter things, but that's not, I don't think that's quite the same. Usually these are different. This is like,
the turnaround is so much slower.
That too. Like if on TikTok you could just be like, I think, is it Charlie D'Amelio? Is that the famous Twitch?
That's one of them.
Sure. You could just take her stuff and be like, we're friends now. I'm doing the dance with her. Look. Exactly. So I think TikTok is kind of just like, while it was already a pretty big potential issue with Twitch and YouTube, YouTube being a slower turnaround before like YouTube gaming, where then there's more live interaction. Twitch being a slightly faster turnaround because it's in almost real time, and then TikTok being just like mass content all the time. This is I don't really know what my point was here, other than just like a small rant on like, this is just exacerbating, I think, these issues where like you think you're friends with these people because you can now do these like duets, and even taking their voice. You can just take their sound clips and use them as your own, and now they're in your video in one of these ways. I think that was just a minor rant. Uh, the other one I wanted to talk about is going back to kind of the age thing and the way that influencers, because of this dynamic where, especially on TikTok, it's all about like copying trends and emulating trends and using sound bites. One of the or a lot of times these popular sound bites involve not safe for work content, but they're just usable by anybody. These dances include
The walk.
yeah, a lot of sexualized content, and they're duetted by a wide range of people who are trying to emulate their favorite TikTokers or whatever. And while there is probably a TOS on some sexualization, there you can get away with quite a bit. And so one of the issues that I saw while I was there is not necessarily parasocial in the way that we've been talking about, but in the emulation of their idols or influencers, where young persons are trying to do these same things that are making the famous people famous.
Right. So, I don't know. As an elder millennial, most of my cringe years were before you could just easily record yourself. Like, we didn't have a video camera or anything in my house. So I can relate to these kids like doing, the like Megan Thee Stallion dances or whatever, because I was doing similar stuff off of like whatever music videos were popular or just playing around with my body and figuring it out when I was a kid or as a teen, I guess. And so I think it's just sort of part of growing up is doing this stuff. Um, and I also have to concede that I may not have had the most, how to say it, um, like in high school, we were talking about sex stuff, just, out in the open, like comparing, well, not comparing, like I knew several of my friends' boyfriends' dick size in high school and like how they preferred to do things and stuff. Like it was around. Um, Things may have changed since then. That might have been extreme. I'm not sure what the average is because I know some people are absolutely horrified at teens talking in this way, but it's part of my high school experience. So certainly like I think that's part of kids and being a teenager and just exploring sexuality and your body and all of this stuff. Now, there is a problem with uh teens doing this or like basically minors, I guess, let's say, doing these dances, putting them up, and then like if it stayed in their age group, cool, sure, play around with the dances, but then you get older people coming in and like treating them as thirst traps almost, and then it just gets super gross and uncomfortable. And certainly I think that's something that TikTok really needs to figure out is, how to keep those videos out of the wrong hands,
Sure.
or at least at the very least from those types of individuals from interacting with those content creators, because oh god, um yeah, it's yeah. So I don't know how you would do that because you can lie about being old, you can lie about being young. Um, and maybe the answer is just no comments if you're gonna do that stuff. So like peers can't comment, but creepy old guys can't comment either. I don't know. It's tricky.
Yeah, and the other aspect is I think that'd be a, if it's possible, a good way to combat that is to separate it by like that's one step. Uh, if their videos just go out to their own age group, um, that's certainly fine, ish. Still
Minor.
have, some things there with like because the range for minors that
Hmm.
are TOS allowed to use the app is still pretty broad.
Yeah.
Like a 13-year-old doing that for a 17-year-old is still a little weird for me.
It's
Uh,
yeah.
but certainly maybe less of an issue than for a 30-something-year-old um, who's interacting in that way. But even with that, um, they're looking at also those influencers, and it may, although judging by the Twitch bans that happen all the time, maybe
Hmm.
it's not. It may be easier for older creators, more mature creators, to handle parasocial relationships in a responsible way. It's going to
Yeah.
be, I think, especially after this time of isolation, a lot more difficult for a 13-year-old or a 14-year-old or I mean, up to minors to do so responsibly when they've been probably felt like they've been stuck inside, away from seeing people in real life. Um, I thought it was a problem before this, but now that I'm thinking about it, I'm like, oh, this may have made things worse. They're
Hmm.
going to want all of that interaction as possible, and then there's any sort of validation for
Hmm.
sure, especially at those like formative ages, going through puberty and or just post
Yeah.
puberty. Um,
Yeah. That's one of the things with my youth is just God, was it? I think it was when the Jeffrey Epstein stuff came out, and hearing a couple interviews from people who were trafficked, and just like, if somebody had come along when I was like 14, 15, told me I could see the world because they liked the way I dance, I would have a drastically different life story, I am sure. Like,
yeah,
you know, stranger danger, all of that stuff, because, grew up in the 80s and 90s, but
that,
oh, he's got a ton of money and he seems respectable and he's friends with Bill Clinton and everybody else. Like, this is my chance to go into the big world and have a better life. And it just, ooh, no, no, no.
yep. I know several people would have been in the same boat had the same opportunity been around, and a couple who were briefly in like situations where like someone was like internet person came along and was like, hey, like I can do this thing for you or whatever it is, give you the sugar daddy trope.
Hmm.
And it works. Like just that validation, just anything, especially
Hmm.
for people who are seeking that in those ways. Um, the I'm looking at chat real quick.
Hmm.
Uh, the Bygone had something a little bit earlier. I guess I'm wondering if parasocial is analogous to a drug, fine if in moderation. Some may be susceptible to addiction, but no reason to be concerned for most people. Or should we try to minimize it for the good of society? Um, do you want to tackle that?
I
For
mean, yeah, sure. I mean, it's sort of like I was getting at with the mobile gaming, taking advantage of whales, lovely term. Um, where it just, for some people, I could like see sort of the stan culture being to the extent where they're sort of addicted to the person and any little snippets of positive feedback they get from the person that they're a fan of. Um, and I think that's prevalent in certain like pop communities where you have like the pop star and they go on tour and have chances to do like meet and greets with the fans. And if you pay several $100s, you get one-on-one access and maybe like a couple minutes to talk with them, and people following them as they tour
Mhm.
just so that they can be the person that is like the mega fan and number one fan, and maybe even gets like pointed to from the stage. And just, for some people, I could see that becoming sort of addictive and destroying their lives in pursuit of that. Um, but I mean, for a lot of things, I feel like we shouldn't necessarily be focusing on the companies to do better because they're not going to. um, but try to build more social nets, more social programs to help people deal with addiction in whatever form it comes in. Um, give them other avenues, healthier avenues for engagement. Like, try to help them not need to go to whatever they are addicted to feel good, and hopefully mend it that way. Because I think, yeah, regulation is complicated and tricky, and as Twitch streamers have more than demonstrated, like, there's going to be loopholes, and those loopholes are going to get exploited. So, yeah, and education too would be a huge help. Uh,
Always education, which we seem to be fighting every year. Listen, math is good, but social skills, you don't need those. You don't need those. That's fine. That's what college is for, but also college, don't go to it. It seems to be the arguments coming up a lot. So I think, I mean, we've talked a lot about what these look like, and certainly like bad forms of the parasocial relationships. I know that a lot of content creators are certainly grateful for the relationships they have with their fans, and some of them show it in very good ways. And one of the better examples that I can think of for that is Critical Role, who I at one point was opening things like every episode because it was manageable, and then at some point decided that they're just going to, okay, you can send us stuff, that's fine, but we're only going to open it once a year. We're going to have like a Critmas and open up things from fans and be thankful and thank whoever sends things in. They are playing a game the entire time, so they don't even respond to chat. Like, people can chat, but it's just chat responding to themselves. Everything, and please no one ruin this for me. Everything that I've seen from the cast has been pretty good regarding their relationship with their fans, and being clear, like, yes, we are entertainers, but and we're happy to do this for you guys, and we're thankful for what you do for us, but like, they've set pretty clear boundaries. But still, yeah, I don't even think they necessarily even encourage subs or donations of any kind. Usually they're like asking for, like, if you're going to give to us, give to this charity instead. Like, we're fine. We're voice actors with lots of jobs. We're okay. Do this other thing. But we're thankful for what you do. So I think that's one example, although granted they are basically independently wealthy, so they can afford to do that. But one example of maybe a positive way to maintain these boundaries. And I'm sure that they still have fans that push past that.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
But it seems one way to maybe do that. And I did want to ask, although feel free not to share, if you have any experiences with parasocial relationships that you want to give, like, examples of, like, this is maybe a good interaction, and maybe this is like one step too far.
Oh yeah. I think the majority of interactions I have, either just sort of public in the comment section on Discord, or even like DMs on Twitter or Discord. Usually it's positive, and usually it's just like a, hey, I know you're busy. Wanted to say, like, I appreciate your work. I like what you're doing. I like your style. I like your eyebrows. Like, whatever. Like, it's very quick, and just they're not really expecting stuff back from me, which is helpful. Because yeah, it's just like, I want to tell you something. You're cool in this way or whatever. And then like, oh, thanks, whatever. And I lump it in the positive when people have shared, you know, hard things that they went through, especially going through the Schreier book with transgender
Yeah, I'm
stuff.
saving up my mental health for that.
Like, some people have had just horrible, horrible experiences, and have shared them with me. And, it's always, yeah, always front loaded with like, don't read this if you don't want to. I just feel like I need to share this with you because of what you're doing. And it helps me with context because I'm not trans, so certainly I don't have any experiences with that. Um, and understanding for like what my work is doing and how it helps, where I need to focus attention on, that sort of stuff. Um, so I think in general, the positive interactions are just not expecting a lot back from me, which I don't know if that sounds awful, but that's where it is. Um, there's been a couple people who it seems like from the way they've acted feel entitled to my time on some level.
Mhm.
Recent-ish example was somebody who started off, huge fan of your channel. I like that you do like in-depth citations. That's really cool, blah, blah, blah. I was wondering if you could do me a favor. I'll pay you if you well, not advertise, but um, say good things about my channel in one of your videos. And it's like, uh-huh. So put that on the back burner, like let them know, like, okay, I need to get on top of some stuff. I'll look at your videos. Give me a week. Finally looked at the videos because it's like, I don't know this person. I didn't stumble across their channel sort of naturally. Like a
Mhm.
couple people I've, you know, bumped on Twitter or whatever, even though they're bigger channels than me. Just like, hey, this video is cool and it's criminally underwatched. You should check it out because it was interesting to me and I found it and wanted to share it.
Mhm.
But this person, I wouldn't have stumbled across our channel. It's not really my thing. Um, it was specialized in something that I'm not well versed in. And I gave them feedback. Like, the audio was pretty good. So you're good there. But, just I noticed this. I didn't think your video was particularly accessible for somebody with my knowledge base and maybe somebody who's an expert in this, it would be interesting. But if you're trying to grow your channel, because part of their point was they've been working on this for 2 years and, they've never really grown. They've got less than 1,000 subs and they're getting really frustrated, which is understandable. Um, but it just, yeah, if you want to grow, it would probably be good to try to get stuff at a more basic level for people, just general feedback, how to deal with the algorithm, try to take advantage of it where you can. And they were unhappy. Kind of swung back with just, well, other people say my videos are accessible, and I guess this means you're not going to share my channel. Like, no, if you get angry, no, I'm not. Like, yeah, it was weird. And the there was a quality there that I've gotten used to, or I've gotten better at sensing and picking up with age, is just like this desperation, um, where just they're coming on very strong and like you can tell that like they need this, they want this, and it's not coming from a healthy place. Um, a friend of ours, it's a game for him kind of, where if he's over, he'll give me his phone because he likes to have friends pick Tinder matches for him.
Okay. I've been there when I was single, so I understand this.
Um, and so it's just like going through people's profiles and it's like, yeah, okay, this is funny. This is funny. Oh, oh no. Like it just the desperation is just like almost an aura on
Mhm.
what they say because it's like passive aggressive and just like you need spend some time alone, work on yourself, figure things out because you are not in a good place for a relationship right now. Um, so there's there's that. Um, the worst example, I think you probably saw in the mod chat for my Discord. Um, somebody got himself personally blocked from me because he jumped into the server around the same time as somebody else, so I thought he was associated with them. So when he sent me a server invite, I was like, oh, cool. okay, sure. Join his server, and it was just me and him.
Oh, I
That's weird.
didn't know that part.
Yeah. And like, okay, no. So then like I left the server and he DM'd me stuff like, I'm new to Discord, blah blah blah, could use help setting this up. And it's like, um, no. I mean, there's resources. I really don't know that much about Discord either. You can look it up. Um, he called me through Discord like a couple times and then DM me like, you there? And it's like, I don't know what gave you the impression that you're entitled to my time, but you're not. Um, block. Let the mods know on Discord, like, hey, this dude's blocked. I don't know how you want to handle this, if you would latch on to somebody else or if it would just be me because I'm the person with the YouTube channel. So he ended up getting kicked off the server. So that that was probably the most entitled I think somebody's been with me. But I mean, I've got things like dick pics on
Oh,
Instagram or like, I'll pay for pictures of your feet, like just weird stuff like that. So full gamut of experiences, I guess. So if you're messaging me and it's just like, hey, really quick, I'll even help people with research sometimes if I have the time or it's something that's interesting to me or that I know. Um, but just approaching a content creator with the expectation that they owe you time is a bad look. If you're not doing that, you're probably okay.
like yeah, I think that a lot of people are really happy to receive a really like your work full
Yeah.
stop. Like that's
Yeah.
perfectly great. Uh, or like here, I want to share the story with you. You don't have to respond.
Hmm.
Also great. Um, or even like even asking questions where like you
Hmm.
want a response, but it's also okay. Like, hey, I have a quick question. It's okay if you don't have time for this, or like
Hmm.
any of those things. I think help promote a dialogue, and especially if they're in the public space. Like if it's on, um, for me, uh, I think it's really good when it's in like a YouTube comments section. Like it's like, hey, I
Hmm.
have this question, and
Hmm.
sure, it's directed at the video creator or the
Hmm.
content creator themselves. But there's like an audience that can also help answer that and be like, oh, I
Hmm.
also have experience with this. This is why I watch this channel. Here's like a blah blah blah. So they're still getting like a response to their question, but it's not necessarily that like um, they're feeling it's a complete entitlement of the creator's time. It's more like it could be that the creator responds, which is bonus,
Hmm.
but it's a fun audience engagement. Um,
Hmm.
uh, yeah, I think that's it can be a really fun um, and validating experience in those ways, but certainly those going too far, the entitlement, the unsolicited um, types of requests that are you would think intuitively beyond uh, appropriate.
Hmm.
Um, uh,
Well, I mean, like they may have had experience with other people who are willing to do like tit for tat, like I'll shout
mhm,
you out, you shout me out, and whatever. It's just, I don't know. I've seen too many people get bit in the ass by doing that sort of thing where it's like, I don't really know the channel, but they're asking me to, so
mhm.
sure. Where it's just like, mm-mm,
And there's a lot of
I,
channels who even promote that, like, hey, send us a
yeah,
thing of your thing, and we'll
yep,
put it on the thing. I think Thought Slime, and the Surfs both do that.
yep.
Um,
Yeah, I
uh,
did that with the surfs way back when.
oh, okay, nice, yeah. I like that they do that, but I think they probably vet it before they put it on. I mean, I'm sure that they
Yeah.
get DMs too. For
Well, I think with the surfs, it was like, hey, soliciting for channels, give us like a 1 minute thing about what you do
Mhm.
and your channel link, and we'll check it out if we're interested or whatever. Um, so yeah, it was solicited.
Okay, yeah, that's the best way to get them. Yeah, certainly if someone's asking for it,
Hmm.
and they're like, hey, give us your thing. We want to shout people out. Like
Yeah.
that's much more appropriate. I yeah, it's complicated. I think for a lot of viewers who expect, especially in like the circles like for BreadTube, if some of the content creators are doing this thing, I think it's really easy to confuse that all of the content creators are doing this thing.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
you're all part of this thing. Why aren't you all doing this? Um, uh, and I think that's probably the same for any other place as well.
Base. Yeah.
If these ASMR streamers are willing to do this, why aren't you willing to do this? I think the most
I
recent
thought this was
example,
the norm.
yeah, the hot tub stream is the thing that I think is the one that comes to mind. Is like all of these other content creators are doing this. Why are you not doing this? And I'm sure like there's a lot of I guess parasocial or peer, not really peer pressure, but certainly parasocial or viewer pressure to do that, to maintain the
And
audience and
market pressure.
viewerships, and yeah, absolutely, economic pressure. Uh, oh, good! I just got a message.
Their timing was great.
Good. Uh,
Cold tub streamers.
good cold tub streamers, Alaskan cold tub streamers. That's got to be a thing. They do that ice uh, bath thing where they all jump in and
Jump in the lake.
yeah. I more power to them. I
That does not seem
nope.
sustainable.
I can't. Nope. Not my thing. I do want to thank a couple people followed me recently. So thank you guys. Speaking of those thank yous, I definitely appreciate it. Um, uh, I typically stream for a very short amount of time. I've got some fatigue issues. So I think we were like running at roughly an hour, which is my energy levels just like drop, unfortunately. Um, so I want to ask if there's anything else that you want to say or talk about. I'm just letting you know where I'm at.
Yeah. I think so. I think maybe part of why I've gotten not a lot of inappropriate parasocial action is sort of my persona on my channel and also the content I cover. Um, so like, you know, try not to wear shirts that go too terribly much lower than this. And not dressed in provocative ways, I think helps, but even then, I still will sometimes get parasocially sexualized by people. Um, so yeah, even trying to be conscious of the way I'm presenting myself, it still happens. So saying that whatever streamers or whoever are asking for it by wearing like a sleeveless shirt or something is just absurd. Um, And also, I think because I talk about like my mental health stuff, I get more stories from people going through similar things, and I'm totally fine with that. Um, but it just, I could see somebody who doesn't talk about like mental health or psychology, but talks about just their own experiences with stuff, potentially getting people gravitating towards them with similar problems and then hitting them up like, oh my gosh, I'm feeling anxious or worse. What do I do? And if they're younger, they might not have the tool set or skill set to really know how to deal with that and redirect the person. And it might feel like they're trying to solve the problems for them and feel responsible for them. I don't know. It's something I'm not sure about because I am where I am in life and came into this relatively old. So, yeah, just I could see that being a problem, especially for content creators who are like, just hitting adulthood, not having their own boundaries and knowledge of like, okay, this person is not my responsibility, really. This is not my problem. I need to encourage them to seek help around them from other resources that aren't me because you get hit with that a couple times, a couple hundred times, like, that would just drain so hard and would probably help lead to burnout. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, yeah.
Yeah, I'm sure it's like some of the content creators who are sharing their like stories of, especially negative health issues, really do want to help people who are in that space, but there's a lot of people in that space, and at some
Yeah.
point you've just got to be like, okay, I understand what you're going through. I've been there. I just can't. Or and I feel that way too in some of the like feels channels. I'm like, I want to respond to all of these people in like the Discord feels channels or venting channels, and I'm like, but I can't. And I'm not even a content creator. It's just like like trying to be empathetic. This is the fatigue level I'm talking about. Words are starting to go away. Empathetic to the just fellow Discordians.
Yeah.
And I can't imagine doing that if I was the one even initiating the dialogue of share your story. I've been through this thing, and receiving that like personally. It's got to be extremely rough, especially if you want to help people who are in those situations.
Yeah. And I think having a background in teaching kind of also help with that, because you get used to students coming at you with like, oh, you talked about this in class, and I was whatever it as a child, and still dealing with like, hold on, hold on, like, I'm sorry you went through that, but this is not the space to be working through that. Talk to these people. Like, I know the school has resources, like, talk to them, redirect. Like, I am not the person for you, and I'm not the person to help you with that in your life. Um, yeah. So yeah. Content destroyer.
um, um, so I think, speaking of mental health and fatigue, I enjoyed our conversation.
Yep.
I think it helped to have like a dialogue, to kind of work out some of these ideas and topics and nuances for sure. I thank you again for being here. I hope you enjoyed it in some ways as well. I know some of the topics were a little darker, or rough.
It's nice not to just talk to a camera for once.
Yes, fair enough. Thank you. But yeah, I don't know if there's any. I think most of the people here are people who follow you, but just in case, do you want to shout out your YouTube?
Yeah, so I am Cass Eris. Just search for me. I overtook a band that was before me on searches. Thank God I'm eating before filming. Yeah, Cass Eris. You can find me on YouTube, Twitter. Discord is linked in my YouTube descriptions, and I'm almost never on Twitch, but there is a Twitch linked in the various places because I can never remember the link for it, and you got a sub.
Oh, thank you, Kat. I appreciate it. For 5 months streak. And I will add, Cass's Discord is very chill and fun. Everybody in there is while there are sometimes debates, it is usually rare that they're like fighty debates. Most of them are just really friendly discussions and just a lot of yes-anding with those discussions, as opposed to conflict. Not that every Discord has a little bit, but it's a really fun place. And then full disclosure, Cass mentioned it earlier, I am a mod there, so for that, that's where I spend a decent amount of my Discord time is on there, because the community is really good, as you can see from a lot of the chat who comes directly from Cass's Discord. Yeah, so I appreciate everyone coming in and tuning in. I need to either have a nap or more caffeine. I'm not sure which yet.
Or both.
Or both. Probably food as well. Yeah, caffeine, nap, and food somewhere in there. Probably not while napping.
Yeah, it might be dangerous.
Right, a little dangerous. But yeah, thank you again.
Yeah, thanks for having me.
I'm building up the mental health for the Schreier videos, but they are on my list. I did watch. Yeah,
They're rough.
I've been watching the Peterson ones that you've been having interspersed because I can handle those ones. Those ones are fine right now. I just need a little bit more for the Schreier ones.
Oh, it's rough.
Yeah, so I've heard, and that's just been like also building the anxiety for watching them a little bit. But I think they're important. So I do. I think that they are good for watching, and certainly if you can handle it, watch them. It's an important conversation topic. Yeah. Otherwise, I will be here again next week. Sans Cass. But yeah, check out our stuff. Yeah, I think that's everything.
Yep.
Okay. Have a good evening. Thank you again.
You too.
All right. Bye. This one. Wait, no. And then here. Then we go this one. Let's see if this worked. And do a brief goodbye with Cass. Yeah, thanks again for tuning in, everyone, for the followers and the subs. On bits, I didn't even see that. I don't think I've ever had a bit donation here, so I didn't even notice. Thank you so much. Yep. Okay. Nap time. I will probably upload this to YouTube. I keep saying that after videos and have yet to do that, but I'll try to do that. Yeah. Take care. Good night.